All right, so in today's video, why women actually want you to not talk to them, I'm going to be giving you step-by-step proof, step-by-step examples, pretty much step-by-step real-life things you can apply. That way you can attract whoever you want way quicker than anybody else. Now, on top of that, I'm even going to do something else. I'm going to show you why she will never tell you this. It's very important to realize that she will never tell you this because this is a true test of your own competency. Now, we just crossed over 1,650 guys inside of our community. I'm helping them learn, understand, and master the language of women. So after today's video is over, be sure to join us inside of that. But let's dive in. So, why women actually want you to not talk to them. You might hear that and go, oh, well, that's crazy. How is she going to know if I'm flirting with her or not and if I want to take her out on a date or not? Okay, that's the point that I'm trying to make. You exposing this stuff is exactly why she doesn't want you. So, guys who focus on things like chemistry or riz, okay, or social skills, they fail to realize a few things. They fail to realize that even if you win over her emotions short term, even if you and her sleep together, even if she claims you're charming, these guys fail to realize this, okay? They fail to realize that all of this has diminishing returns to the end of the relationship or to the end of the interactions. Here's what I mean by that. The more you talk to a woman, the less she likes you and grows bored of your personality. So some of you hear that and instantly you try to find a workaround. So your workaround is always, well, maybe I need better social skills. Maybe I need to be more charming. Maybe I need better riz. Maybe I need to be a better conversationalist so that way I can hold her attention. And this is exactly why you keep failing. You cannot work around female nature when that's just how she is. Okay, so this is what I mean. The more you talk to a woman, the less she likes you and grows bored of your personality. Even if you're famous. Oh yeah. Even if you're a pro athlete. We've seen this before. And even if you're good in bed. Because women's emotions tend to gravitate to the man who is not desiring them. And I'm sure they almost wish it wasn't like this. But sadly, this is how it is. So instead of wishing the world was different, you, my friend, need to get better at laying your cards properly. So, as the novelty wears off, she loses emotional investment. You cannot outgame female nature. I'm going to say that one more time. You cannot outgame female nature. So let's move on to this side of the marker board. Women respect you more when you don't talk to them or desire to get to know them. I'm going to say that one more time. Women respect you more when you don't talk to them or desire to get to know them. So there's a friend of mine. Okay, this is what he said. He's about 25 years old, and he came up to me, and he was like, yeah, it was so wild. You know, I was with these 4 women last night, and, you know, we were all just talking at this party, and I heard one of them say to the other, she goes, yeah, I don't know why I'm always so much more attracted to the men who are not trying to talk to me or give me more attention. This is what he said. This is what he said. This is what you're going to hear. This is what you're going to realize. This is what you're going to experience. Okay? The problem with a lot of men is they try. They actually try to attract her. They try to get to know her. They try to take her out on a date. They try to form some kind of companionship or some kind of relationship. But what you have to remember is the way things operate today, she does not need you. Okay? She doesn't need you. She doesn't need you for anything. She has her own life with her own job and her own passions, and she's fine. So because of that, you have to focus on attracting her instead of trying to obtain the date. And I'm going to show you what I mean here in just a little bit. Problem with a lot of men is they try, when in reality, all forms of effort implies that there is a deficit of some kind of perceived lack. I'm going to say that again. All forms of effort implies that there is a deficit of some kind of perceived lack. So the reason why the guy is putting in effort is because he feels as if he has to. Well, then in her mind, she goes, well, why does he feel like he has to try? And then she ends up being with the guy or sleeping with the guy who doesn't try at all because he appears to be higher value than you. Now, this goes so deep, okay, by you even saying hello in the first place, you give a bit of validation. By even saying hello, by even acknowledging her right there and saying hi, you are giving some kind of validation. So women feel more desire, or women tend to desire the men who don't talk to them. Women will tend to desire the men who do not talk to them far more than the men who talk to them. Okay? This is what you have to remember. It's impossible to get rejected or to take a decrease in social status if you never overtly attempt to win her over. So when do you take a decrease in social status? When do you get rejected? When do her and her friends automatically not like you? It's when you have overtly attempted to win her over and get her to like you. That's when the women don't like you. Okay? I'm trying to get you to rethink some beliefs. I'm trying to get you to rethink how you see things play out in your dating life. And you better believe that I'm trying to get you to believe that you need to join us inside of my community so you can learn, understand, and master the language of women, because that community is growing every week, and I'm here to tell you this. There's a reason for that, okay? Now, let's go to the next piece. Why she'll never tell you any of this. Why is she not going to tell you this, that she doesn't like the men who try to talk to her? Why is she not going to tell you? Well, obviously, she doesn't want to expose the truth. Obviously, she doesn't want to let you know that. Obviously, she wants to maintain some of that leverage. And obviously, she wants to be able to disqualify the men that she automatically wouldn't want, okay? Here's why she'll never tell you this. She wants the men who do not understand how dating dynamic works, or what some would call, how the game is being operated, right? You got to get good at playing the game, okay? She wants the men who don't understand the game, okay? Back and forth, how this is going to play out. She wants the men who don't understand the game to present their interest forward, so she has reason to disqualify him as he has proven that he is not pre-selected. Okay? So right here, this game that's being played, it's always a game of who is showing the least amount of interest. So let's just read this one more time. She wants the men who do not understand the game of dating dynamics, of how things operate between you and her, because some guys don't get this. And when you don't get it, what it shows is you don't have a lot of dating experience. Well, that obviously makes you not pre-selected. So obviously she wants to be able to disqualify those guys right away as fast as she can. So that's why she's not going to give you any inside information. She wants the men who do not understand how the dating dynamic works to present their interest forward to her, so she has reason to disqualify him as he has proven that he is not pre-selected. So if she told guys this, or if women would tell guys this, automatically men would start to know things that women didn't want you to know in the first place. So she wants all the men who act incorrectly to present themselves forward. Okay? All of the men who act incorrectly, meaning they show overt interest and they're really trying to obtain that date and work and put in a lot of effort. She wants those guys, okay, to show their interest. She wants those guys to present their interest forward. Now notice this word, act. She wants all the men who act incorrectly. It's about how you act. If you're bad at acting, you better get better at being a better actor. That's what I'm going to say. So yes, women care about how you act. So this is why guys call it game. Because in a game, you have to lay your cards properly. Okay? In a game, okay, you need to put on the act. What is the act? The act is carrying yourself like a man the right way. Most men don't know how to do this because you've been told your whole life all the wrong beliefs that leave you stuck in your dating life, continuously thinking that you're unattractive, continuously believing that she has all the leverage over you in the relationship, continuously believing that for some reason you're not going to have a lot of options, or, the fact that you probably keep telling yourself that you have all these insecurities when you probably don't, and there's no difference between you and the other dude because you're a person too. They want you stuck in that cycle, okay? So, notice, act. Like an actor. You have to act properly. Well, some of you say, well, I don't want to do that. I want to be honest and true to myself and who I am. Well, congratulations. If that's the wrong act, then you're not going to do very well in your dating life. You might be great in your personal life, but you're not going to do very well in your dating life. I'm going to tell you one thing. The guys that I see in life who have success in a lot of different areas, they know how to act in different circumstances. The guys who don't have a lot of success in life tend to act the same in every circumstance, and then they tell themselves, well, this is just who I am. People can either accept me or not. Yeah, okay, maybe. Maybe a little bit. Maybe that might work for you in certain circumstances. But if you're trying to get a job, you better act the right way to get that job. If you're trying to get a date, it would be beneficial to you if you act properly to get that date. Okay? So women don't want you to be genuine. Women don't want you to be yourself. Women don't even care if you're honest. No. Women only care that you're acting correctly. And by you acting correctly, you maintain her interest and her attraction. That is what women care about. They want you to act the right way. Well, for some of you, you say, well, that's not a congruent personality for me. That's not, if I act that way, Casey, that's not me being congruent with myself. That's not me being honest with myself. Well, okay. I guess you can keep telling yourself those beliefs. Here's the thing. If you're not open to any change, you're never going to actually make success in a different area that you haven't had before. You're going to have to adapt. I have to adapt every single day that I'm working, every single day that I do everything. I'm constantly adapting, constantly growing. Well, you're going to have to adapt and grow to get new successes in areas in life you didn't have them. Okay? Keep that in mind. So, what you want to do is you want to attract. You do not want to overtly try. Attract. You do not want to overtly try. Guys who overtly try and then they keep telling themselves that they need better social skills when in reality they're fine. Like your social skills are fine. You've been able to order food and go to the doctor and, go to your job meeting and all this your whole life. And you've been able to communicate just fine. You're fine. Okay? You don't need better social skills. You need to understand how to act better so that way women are attracted to you. Okay? You want to attract, you do not want to overtly try. You have to master the ability to captivate literally so much attention, okay, as a man, that she reveals her high interest to you. You need to make yourself nice and big and shiny, where she goes, wow, there must be some value over here. There's something different over here. I need to check out what's going on over here. I'm going to show you how to do this in just a little bit, and I'm going to even give you some real life circumstances. So in 2025 and beyond, my theory is this. You're going to notice that women are really only going to be going after the pre-selected men, okay? Because they have their own lives and they don't need you. So always give the illusion, the attitude, and the demeanor that you already have a girlfriend. If you give the attitude, the illusion, and the demeanor that you already have a girlfriend that you're loyal to, you will notice that you stay 1 to 2 steps removed and you will only engage in surface level conversation. And she's going to notice that you probably refuse to show overt interest. And since you appear like you're not trying to take this a step further, she now desires to get to know you more. Because now you appear as if you already have options. Okay? So here's what you're going to find. Women love your nonchalant attitude that signals that you don't care. So a lot of guys, they tell themselves, what do I have to do? Do I have to be super confident? Do I have to try to talk really fast? Do I have to try to hold her attention? Do I have to try to be this type of guy or be that type of guy? And there's a lot of confusion and guys don't know. Guys don't know. So I'm going to tell you right here what women actually respond to best. They respond best to that energy that says, I don't care. You can take it or leave it. Nonchalant attitude, like I have a nice bed and I got food in the fridge already, so I don't really need to talk to anyone because I'm good. That's what women respond to. So there's guys that tell themselves, well, if I just talked a little bit more and got out of my comfort zone, if I just was a little bit more assertive when I said hello, like instead of saying hello, I said hello. Oh yeah, then she would have really liked me. The things that men convince themselves of in order to try to convince themselves why they should have more options or why these deficits in their life are occurring is so backwards. And the reason why it's backwards and why you'll never figure it out unless you understand these principles is because her emotions are opposite to your logic. Okay? So women actually love the attitude that is nonchalant, that signals that you don't care. Because that's how a true king would carry himself, because he already has what he needs. So when you want to talk about a man of status, that's what it looks like. Okay? And that's why a lot of times guys who do this can make less money than you and be shorter than you and still win over the woman that you have a crush on. Okay? So I'm going to let you in on another secret. I believe that women actually hate that they love it. I think that they hate that they love this nonchalant, I don't care attitude, because logically what makes sense on paper is they would tell themselves, I want a guy to care about me and do all these things. But then they're sitting there empty-handed in the relationship wondering, well, why don't I have any attraction to this guy anymore? And they're struggling trying to figure it out too. Okay? Keep that in mind. She's always comparing you also to the fantasy of the other men that she could potentially have on social media, or the other men who are, already attracting a lot of women, which means it's even more important that you carry yourself with this kind of attitude, because here's the thing. You want to always give the illusion that you're pre-selected and that you probably already have a girlfriend. So what do? For some of you saying, well, okay, Casey, like this makes sense, but I have zero options. I don't have any options already, and I'm not even talking to anyone right now. So what do I do? Like, if I'm not talking to anyone, what do I do to actually have options? If you're telling me why women actually want you to not talk to them, if you're sitting there reading this title going, well, how's this going to work? Let me explain. You're focused on the wrong things. You're focused on communicating with them and talking to them instead of positioning yourself in certain areas that help you generate attraction by being in a position of status in that environment. And I have multiple examples in my own dating life how this played out. You need to put yourself in arenas where you can basically dominate socially by being a big fish in a small pond. Okay? You want to be a big fish in a small pond so you have a social presence and you can really captivate that room and you appear as if you're that guy. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways throughout the years, okay, how I actually did this myself, okay? We're going to go through a couple different circumstances, and then I'm going to show you how this unfolded, okay? So ways that I've done this personally with myself. So always remember that women only see what's in front of them. So the man in her vicinity can be the pre-selected guy in that environment, okay? That means if you, let's say you take a swimsuit model, okay? Or you take a, one of the most beautiful magazine models in the world. She's a beautiful woman. Here's what you have to remember. When I say women only see what's in front of them, here's what you have to remember. Even if she's a swimsuit model, and let's say she's used to professional athletes and she's used to dating famous musicians and all this stuff, right? If that same woman decided to go to, let's say, a small town in a random state that she's never been to, and there's a small town there. Okay, and let's say she's at a random local bar, and let's say there's only 50 people in that bar total. There is still a high probability that there is 1 to 2 men in there who have done something socially in this small arena, okay, where they can potentially generate, okay, attraction with her. Even though this is the type of guy that she's used to, she's in a new environment. This is why I'm telling you, you need to focus on putting yourself in an environment where you can have a social presence of being a big fish in a small pond, so that way you can win some dates and that way you can attract them. So let me give you an example. The very first thing I ever did when I started something online, it was about 2017. And I had this brand, and it was my fitness business. So what I used to do was I was a fitness coach, okay? And I had this one specific program in my town or in my city, okay? And I didn't come from a very big town, okay? So this was about 2017, and I made some workout programs, and some of them were specifically designed for women. And that's what I would do, is I was a fitness trainer, and then they grew in popularity a lot because I was attracting a lot of clients through all my testimonials and the stuff that I did. Okay, so I had these fitness programs in 2017, and then all of the women, or not all, but like a lot, right? A lot of these women started signing up for these programs in my hometown when they would see the other women's before and after transformation testimonials of their fitness journey. Okay, so naturally, here's what happened. Instantly, I had a bunch of attractive women all of a sudden following me, okay, and a lot of them were all eager for dates. Now, doing this is how I actually got my second girlfriend. And not only that, there was numerous women along the way that I met, okay, naturally, and a lot of these women wanted to actually see me, okay, because the position that I built in this spot was I was this dude, okay, who was fitness coaching women, and a lot of women were responding very well to it, and all of them really liked it. And then the rest of them just followed. This is a way I did this accidentally. This accidentally positioned me in a position of status in that environment. And then it's like, well, once I got a girlfriend, well, there was other women who almost appeared as if they were waiting for her and I to break up so that way they had an opportunity with me. So notice pre-selection was also generated. I didn't even try to do this. I was like 20, 21 years old. That's it. I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. But what I did and what I built, there was enough value there where women were like, okay, what is going on here? Okay, and naturally, that's how that unfolded. Let me give you another example. What I would do a lot of times, because it was almost like when I was younger, I almost kind of just knew this stuff automatically by default. I don't know what it was about me, but like I almost just knew this stuff. I knew that if you talked a lot and you revealed your interests, you're going to probably mess up or something like that. I'll even give you a couple different examples here. So what I did when I was younger, okay, around the same time here, is I was constantly, a lot of times I would throw like house parties. Okay, so here's what would happen. When I was younger, I'd throw these house parties, okay? And here's what would actually happen. I could literally sit there, okay, or like at one point there was like an upstairs loft or balcony. I could sit there and say nothing and do nothing. And a lot of times women would just come up and say, "Is this your party?" And they would want to start a conversation. Because I've created the environment, I put myself in a position of status, they would naturally assume that there's value here because they're going to go, look at all these people. All these people are here. Well, what's so great about you? Why did all these people want to come? This is actually how I met my first girlfriend. So the first girlfriend that I ever had, she came to one of my house parties with a different guy. She came to one of my house parties with a different guy, and me and that dude were talking for an extended period of time. I was probably talking to him for like 45 minutes to an hour, and I didn't even know that she was into me. And then naturally, okay, the next house party that I was at, she just came up to me and she said that she wanted to go home with me. That is literally how that happened. She chose me. The women do the choosing. Instead of trying to communicate so much interest of thinking you can do the next thing and say the next thing to get to where you want to be, you have to focus on positioning yourself in a position of status, okay? So here's the funniest thing about this. By attracting those girlfriends, other women almost knew what league that I was in. And then they would look at her and be like, oh, well, she's attractive. I should probably talk to him too. And one by one, it's like I grew the attraction through that environment. And you can copy paste this into any guy's life or any kind of lifestyle. You just have to actually get creative. You have to think outside the box. What you want to do is you want to actually think about this from a standpoint of like identity or community. Okay, identity and community. So let's say it was 1,000 years ago, before cars and airplanes and whatever. People couldn't just travel, and people didn't have cell phones, so we weren't all connected. So women were used to being with the guys in their community. And instantly, each guy in the community would have an identity. Oh, that's the farmer. That's the guy who leads, this part. That's the guy who helps with hunting. That's the guy who helps with farming. That's the guy who makes shoes. Okay? This guy is the leader of, woodworking for chairs and tables, whatever. I'm making stuff up off the top of my head. But that's what women were used to seeing. They were used to seeing a guy with an identity in a community, and he had social status for having that identity. This was the same for me. When I was a fitness coach and I was attracting women without even knowing it, all because I had women-specific fitness programs, and women naturally liked it. I had the identity of being the fitness coach in town who coached women in their fitness journey. And then naturally I attracted women. It's really weird how this happens. When I was the house party guy, it was like, oh, there's this guy in town throwing house parties. I should probably get to know him. It's identity. The identity of the man reflects through the community. And that's why you need to focus on putting yourself in arenas where you can win socially by being a big fish in a small pond. Now, I'm going to say this one last thing. Obviously, you can see I take these topics really seriously. And obviously, I'm probably putting out more value than almost anybody. If you think that I go deep in these topics, you should see how deep I go when you see my actual process inside the language of women. I've been helping guys learn, understand, and master the language of women. And that's why we've now grown this community to the number that it's at. So jump inside of that with us. You'll love it.